Thanks for tuning in to Finance News. I'm Melissa Darmawan. Here to talk to us today about Chimeric Therapeutics is Chief Executive Officer Jennifer Chow. Jennifer, great to have you in the Sydney studio.
I am so excited to actually be here and be able to meet you in person, Melissa.
Likewise. Well, welcome. Love having you here.
Thank you.
So remind our viewers what cancers Chimeric is actually targeting.
Yeah, that's important, Melissa. So we're actually looking at moving into, over the course of all of our assets, more than 10 different types of cancer. Right now, our chlorotoxin CAR-T is in glioblastoma, and so a horrible fatal type of brain cancer. We're looking to expand our chlorotoxin program, so we'll also be looking at metastatic melanoma, and then we'll be looking at a couple other diseases with that trial as well. Our CDH17 CAR-T, we're actually taking into gastrointestinal tumors. And so colorectal cancer, gastric cancer, gastroesophageal cancer, and neuroendocrine tumors as well. And then our CoreNK platform has been used already in blood cancer, so acute myeloid leukemia, and as well in colorectal cancer. And as we go forward, we'll be looking at exploring that in other tumor types as well.
Given the plate that you guys have at the moment, is there an update, a really high-level update on how those are going?
Yeah, absolutely. So we now have, very short period of time, we have 7 assets in development. We now have 2 clinical trials, obviously the CoreNK trial that's read out. We have our chlorotoxin clinical trial that is ongoing. And then we are planning to have 8 clinical trials by next year.
What does CoreNK actually mean?
So what it is it's an off-the-shelf platform, which means that we use cells from a healthy donor to make this type of therapy. And the NK part stands for natural killer, and so that is really when we're using natural killer cells from a healthy donor. The CORE acronym actually talks to the fact that this particular platform has already been clinically validated. And what we've seen very recently that was so exciting to us, Melissa, was phase 1 clinical data. First and foremost was we saw safety for the patients, which is obviously the objective of the trial. So we were really, really happy to be able to see that the CoreNK platform was safe for patients. But then really excitingly, what we actually saw was we saw efficacy, particularly in blood cancers. So we had 3 patients in that trial that had blood cancers, that had acute myeloid leukemia, which is quite a devastating disease. And all 3 of those patients were able to achieve disease stability. And one of those patients actually had a complete response. And that complete response means that essentially their disease was gone. And what we now know is that 15, 16 months later now, that patient remains in a complete response, and so their disease still has not come back.
Can you talk us through the difference between one of your other platforms or programs?
A lot of what we are doing, and certainly the cell therapies that are currently approved on the market, are what's called CAR T cell therapies. So CAR T cell therapies use T cells. This particular, our platform, the CoreNK, uses NK cells. So we have CAR T cell therapies. We have our CDH17 CAR T cell and our chlorotoxin CAR T cell as well. They use T cell therapies, and they use what's called an individualized process. So instead of using cells that come from a healthy donor, our CAR T cell therapies actually use a patient's own cells. So we take the blood from the patient, we ship it off to our manufacturing facility, we engineer it, and we send it back. So it's a little bit different, the two. One is a little bit more personalized using T cells. One is an off-the-shelf therapy that uses NK cells.
To add to all of this,
yes,
I know that there was a feature story on Chimeric. I'm going to let you talk through the details.
Yeah, and you know what? We were so thrilled. The feature story was about our CDH17 CAR-T, and it was in an incredibly prestigious scientific journal called Nature Cancer. And so that particular CAR-T we brought in or licensed from the University of Pennsylvania. And the team, Dr. Chinois, who leads the team, he was the inventor of that CAR-T, they actually have been working on that for a decade, if you can believe that. And so they've spent the last decade really optimizing and making that CAR-T cell perfect, and then testing it in models and in animals to make sure that it was also going to be safe. And so all of the work that they've done showing how they've optimized the CAR-T and how safe it is was highlighted in Nature Cancer. And it really was very elegant work and very groundbreaking, because This was the first time that, there's been a publication on a new antigen target that we know was expressed highly on cancer tissue, but also on healthy tissue. And Dr. Wanna's team were able to show why it wasn't affecting the healthy tissue. And so exciting for us as we're working so closely with Dr. Wan and his team to actually take that asset into clinic.
In some other news, I know that you recently inked a manufacturing deal with WuXi Advanced Technologies, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, and you know what, that particular partnership and another one that we announced in similar timing with a group called Be The Match, they are crucially important for us, Melissa, because they allow us to actually be able to grow our programs. So before, with our chlorotoxin CAR-T, the trial is being done in one center. And so the manufacturing is in that center as well. But what that does is it says one center of manufacturing limits the number of patients that can actually be put into the trial, because you can only manufacture so much in one small center. And the other piece of it is, from a logistics perspective, all the patients had to go to that one center because there was no way to move cells around the country. So what we have right now is one manufacturing site that has 400,000 square foot capacity at WuXi. It's in Pennsylvania. And that allows us to continue to add and grow the program so we can treat more and more patients. And the other group I mentioned, Be The Match, BioTherapies, that announcement, they actually provide all the logistics for our trials. So when I was describing to you a CAR T cell therapy and we take the patient's cells and then we move them to a manufacturing facility, Be The Match is the group that really does all of the shipping and logistics around that. So both of those partnerships now, having them in place for us, is so important because it allows us to expand our clinical programs and move forward faster.
So what is the outlook for the next 6 months?
For the next 6 months, in terms of what we're looking at being able to share with people, we're really looking forward to being able to finish the phase 1 chlorotoxin dose escalation trial. Past that, what we're doing is we're getting all of our other programs ready for clinic. So the CDH17 CAR-T, the one that was in Nature Cancer, we're getting that ready to file so that we can get into a phase 1 clinical trial with that. We're actually expanding the chlorotoxin program into metastatic melanoma, so we're getting ready to open that phase 1 clinical trial. And then with our CoreNK program, we're actually looking to develop the clinical trials and start to build our CoreNK assets there. So a lot more development work going on to really be able to hit into 23 with many more clinical trials and data coming.
Jennifer Chow, I'm looking forward to hearing from you in regards to these updates. It's great to have you in Sydney. Safe travels back home.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It was so wonderful to actually be here in person this time, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity to come back again soon.